Have you ever felt invisible to the one you always put first? You showed up. You cared. You stayed when it was hard. You gave your time, your energy, your heart, and still, they looked right through you, as if all your devotion meant nothing. You spoke with honesty, loved with depth, gave with sincerity. Yet somehow, your presence became ordinary, expected, taken for granted. And now, you stand in silence, wondering, how did something so genuine become so unseen? The truth is, when you give endlessly, people forget your value. When you pour too much into others, they begin to drown in your effort and stop appreciating the source. But what if I told you there's a way to turn that silence into strength? To shift the balance, not with anger, not with begging, not with games, but with quiet, unwavering power. A power rooted in something ancient, something timeless. Stoicism. Because Stoicism isn't about pretending not to care. It's about caring deeply, but choosing where to direct that care. It's about refusing to lose yourself while trying to be enough for someone else. And when you master that, everything changes. You stop being predictable. You stop being easy to read. You stop being the one who overgives, overexplains, overapologizes. Instead, you become the one who moves with calm certainty, while others stumble to understand you. These are not mind games. They are soul shifts, subtle, profound changes that alter the entire dynamic. In this video, I'll show you 9 Stoic attitudes that reverse the pattern completely. They make the very person who once neglected you stop and see you again. Not because you demanded attention, but because your silence begins to speak louder than your presence ever did. Because when you stop chasing, they start remembering. When you stop trying to prove your worth, they begin to feel your absence like a pulse they can't escape. Stoicism, born over 2,000 years ago, is more relevant now than ever. In a world addicted to validation, it teaches independence. In a world filled with noise, it teaches stillness. And in a world obsessed with attention, it teaches peace. The Stoics understood that we cannot control how others treat us, but we can always control how we respond. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters."
Think about that.
It's not the rejection that breaks you. It's not their silence that defines you. It's your reaction, your ability to hold your composure when the world shakes beneath your feet. True strength doesn't come from being untouched by pain. It comes from facing pain with grace. From standing tall in the storm and saying, "I will not be moved." That's where real power begins. When you stop trying to change others, you begin transforming yourself. You move from reaction to reflection, from chasing love to embodying it. When you stop giving all your energy to someone who overlooks you, that energy returns home, to you. And that's when everything shifts. Because Stoicism isn't coldness. It's not about shutting down. It's about awakening a different kind of power, the kind that doesn't need to shout to be heard. It's the quiet confidence that says, "I know my worth, even if you don't." It's emotional intelligence, dignity, and calm strength combined. It's the art of not letting anyone shake your peace. When you embody these 9 attitudes, you stop reacting like everyone else. You start responding with wisdom. You let your silence carry weight. You let your distance create curiosity. And that calm, centered presence, that unbothered grace, becomes unforgettable. You become the mirror that reflects truth back to those who once overlooked you. They begin to feel what they lost, not through your words, but through your absence. They sense that your peace is no longer tied to their validation. And in that moment, the power dynamic flips. You become the one they can't stop thinking about, not because you tried harder, but because you finally stopped trying at all. This is what Stoicism teaches: to master yourself so deeply that no one can unbalance your peace. To transform pain into clarity, rejection into redirection, loss into liberation. You won't need to chase, prove, or play games. You'll simply live by the laws of inner power, and through that, you'll rise in silence. You'll embody the kind of strength that can't be ignored. Because when you stop needing to be seen, you become unforgettable. So stay still. Stay grounded. Let your calm be louder than your pain. And as you listen, I'll show you the 9 Stoic attitudes that will make those who once dismissed you see what they never truly understood: your quiet, unshakable worth. So let's begin. 1. Strategic silence. Sometimes what destabilizes someone most isn't what you say, it's what you don't say. When you stop chasing, justifying your presence, or responding on impulse, you change the game. Silence, when used wisely, is one of the most powerful tools to regain your dignity, especially with someone who's grown accustomed to your explanations, your immediate availability, your unlimited attention. When you go silent, without drama, without hints, without announcements, you force the other person to look inward. And that hurts, because the one who thought they always had you nearby starts to miss the noise you made just by existing. Marcus Aurelius said, "Nothing is as powerful as the silence of a man with a just cause." And it's true. Silence leaves space for the other person to think, to feel uneasy, to realize what they've lost. It's not absence, it's elevated presence. It's you saying, "I'm still here, but not just anyway." In a noisy world, those who know how to be silent with purpose become unforgettable. 2. Focus on yourself. Someone who spends their life trying to be seen by someone who ignores them inevitably distances themselves from their own self. And one of the most transformative and unexpected attitudes is precisely this. Stop wasting energy on those who don't see you and start taking care of who matters most. You. But this isn't a false focus, one of those that try to cause jealousy or look good on social media. It's true focus. It's waking up and choosing to invest in your mind, your body, your projects, your peace. When you start treating yourself with care, with priority, something in you changes. And this silent transformation, without fanfare, without performance, deeply impacts the person who once ignored you, because they start to realize that you no longer depend on them to feel good. The Stoic said, "True freedom comes from within." And it's precisely when you stop wanting to be chosen that others start to want to choose you. You move from the role of begging for attention to the role of inspiring respect. Focusing on yourself isn't selfishness, it's your healing. 3. Controlled absence. Some people only understand the value of your presence when they feel the weight of your absence. And this is one of the most elegant and effective Stoic attitudes, knowing when to exit the scene. Without scandal, without notes, without exposed hurt, just withdrawing peacefully. Controlled absence isn't punishment. It's a silent message that you won't stay where there's no respect. Someone who's used to your constant presence, your immediate response, your automatic giving, feels the impact when you simply stop being there. Not because you vanished in anger, but because you learned to protect yourself. Seneca said, "Sometimes to be noticed, you have to disappear." And disappearing with dignity is one of the most powerful ways to provoke reflection. When you stop being available to someone who doesn't value you, you create a void that even the most stubborn pride cannot fill. The right absence at the right time makes the one who underestimated you start to wonder if it's already too late. 4. Zero emotional reaction. Want to confuse someone who thought they had control over you? Don't react. Don't explode. Don't beg. Don't explain. Just stay calm. This is one of the most difficult attitudes, but also one of the most impactful. Because someone who's used to your despair, your attempts to fix everything, your raw emotion, doesn't know what to do when they encounter serenity. Epictetus said, "Anyone can get angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person, and to the right degree, and at the right time, and for the right purpose, and in the right way, that is not within everybody's power and is not easy." Zero emotional reaction isn't coldness, it's strength. It's mastery. It's you deciding that no one else will throw you off your center. And when the person provokes you and realizes you're not reacting like before, the lack of control shifts sides. Your peace starts to bother them. Your maturity becomes a mirror. And the one who tested you now sees themselves exposed, reflected in your firmness. When you choose not to play anymore, the game simply ends. 5. Silent self-esteem. There is nothing more magnetic than someone who loves themselves in silence, without fanfare, without the need to prove anything to anyone. When you start to genuinely respect yourself, Taking care of your appearance, your environment, your choices, that natural confidence shines through, and the one who once underestimated you starts to notice. Because silent self-esteem doesn't need a stage. It's perceived in the way you walk, the tone of your voice, the sparkle in your eyes. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." And that's exactly it. Before, you bent over backward trying to be accepted. Now you expand because you've become whole. Self-esteem changes the frequency of your presence. It makes you choose your companions better, move away from what weakens you, and get closer to what strengthens you. And when you treat yourself as a priority, the world starts to do the same, including someone who once didn't see your worth. 6. Unbreakable boundaries. Nothing changes an unbalanced relationship more than the firmness of a boundary. When you finally decide what you no longer accept and uphold that decision, something powerful happens. The one who used to test your patience begins to realize that the game has changed because you are no longer available at any cost. Setting boundaries isn't pushing people away. It's protecting your peace. It's clearly drawing the line on how far the other person can go. And yes, many will try to cross that line, make you feel guilty for saying no, but Stoic firmness does not bend to manipulation. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens, but how you react that matters." And reacting with boundaries is an act of self-love. Whoever can't handle your firmness reveals that they were only there for the benefit of your fragility. But those who respect you understand and adapt. Clear boundaries don't push away true love. They only filter out those who weren't willing to offer the same in return. 7. Selective generosity. Being generous is noble, but being generous to everyone, including those who don't reciprocate, is an invitation to exhaustion. Selective generosity is one of the smartest attitudes you can adopt. It's about stopping spending time, attention, and energy on those who only approach when they need something. It's about offering the best of you only to those who truly value it. Seneca said, "Generosity is a virtue, but it must be guided by reason." When you become more discerning with whom you share your affection, people begin to understand that your presence is no longer guaranteed. And that changes the dynamic. The one who once saw you as an inexhaustible resource begins to recognize the privilege of having access to what you offer. Generosity loses the weight of obligation and gains the sparkle of choice. You choose who deserves your attention, and whoever used you before now feels the absence of what they never knew how to value. 8. Powerful indifference. Few things dislodge someone more than the indifference of someone they once cared about. But pay attention. Indifference is not contempt. It is emotional maturity. It is you choosing not to react anymore to the stimuli of someone who used to destabilize you. When you stop caring about what the person does, thinks, or says, something changes in the balance of the relationship. The other person loses control because what used to shake you no longer has an impact. Epictetus taught, "Don't spend your energy trying to please someone who doesn't have the capacity to value you." And that's it. Powerful indifference doesn't come from anger, but from awareness. It's understanding that your peace is no longer for sale, that your attention will no longer be wasted. And when the person realizes they've lost the power to affect you, they start to feel a void. Because whoever lives off controlling others becomes desperate when that control ends. Your indifference, in this case, is freedom. It is healing. It is the end of emotional dependence. 9. Unshakable self-confidence. There is no more irresistible posture than that of someone who knows who they are and acts from that place. When you develop true self-confidence based on your inner worth and not on external approval, you become emotionally independent. And that changes everything. You walk into a room and don't need to prove anything. Your presence already speaks for itself. Marcus Aurelius said, "Self-reliance is not arrogance. It is wisdom." And wisdom is exactly what emanates from those who do not seek validation. When you stop waiting for recognition and begin to move with firmness, with clarity, with purpose, even those who ignored you before start to notice. Because now you don't need to be chosen. You chose yourself. And that's the moment the game turns. The one who once underestimated you realizes they've lost access to someone who finally understood their own worth. And that loss hurts because self-confidence not only attracts, it also liberates. Now you understand. These attitudes aren't about revenge. They're about transformation, about regaining control of your life and stopping the search outside for what can only be built within. When you practice strategic silence, invest in yourself, set boundaries, and nurture your self-confidence, you change. And when you change, the world around you starts to respond differently. Those who underestimated you feel it. Those who ignored you notice. Those who lost you regret it. But none of that matters anymore, because now you see yourself. You are enough for yourself. And that's exactly where true power lies, living in peace without needing to be accepted, chosen, or validated by anyone. If this resonated with you, comment below which of these attitudes you'll apply first. Like, share, subscribe for more videos like this. And remember, whoever didn't value you yesterday might be the one who regrets it most tomorrow when you finally learn to value yourself.